Hey guys, and welcome to Serenity Cinema, where we discuss everything in movies, TV, and all things nerd.
What does that make us?
Big damn heroes.
Awesome.
As always, I'm Angel,
And I'm Austin.
and here we're going to discuss Baby Driver in a lot more detail.
Woohoo!
Yay!
Everybody get hyped because I definitely was for this movie.
Oh, absolutely.
I am. I know you as well. We're both huge Edgar Wright fans.
Yes.
I love every one of his movies, and this movie did not disappoint. Honestly, for me, favorite movie of the year so far. Which sounds like something I should probably say for the end of the video, so people know my thoughts. But yeah, I'm saying it now because that's how much I feel it.
So let's jump right in.
Jump right in then. Okay, so I love Edgar Wright because all of his projects have such a passion behind them, and this one is the exact same way. This is a great filmmaker making great films that he wants to make, and it's his vision wholly, and you really get that through the whole thing. There's this fun. I mean, it's not. Sometimes it gets heavy and dark, but there's this fun feeling throughout the whole thing that really keeps the movie afloat, even through points that may seem mundane from the outside, like being in a laundromat. You know, there's this, and it's a lot of that is owed to the music, the great music of this movie.
Yeah, the music, the colors too. Like the colors in the laundromat scene are amazing, with the reds and the blues and the yellows all in the background, all spinning in sequence.
Yeah, and
like,
that's a great
It's so.
That's a great fraction sliver of this movie that really shows what the whole thing is like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a great reality that he's created in this world.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. So you want to talk a little bit about style with this movie, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think this is as a filmmaker, this is one of my favorite. This is not one of my favorite examples of blending style with story perfectly. I think what's so great about Edgar Wright is he finds a way in every one of his movies to fully immerse you in the world by making every part of the world, even the background, move in sequence like one working machine. And I think he does that perfectly in this movie because he blends the music, and the music basically it sets the tone for the entire scene, but it has the beats for the scene in it. Like the scene itself follows the song. Each time they play a song, it syncs up with everything that's happening in the scene itself. So it fully immerses you in the world because you're paying attention to the song already because it's a great song, and then you're really looking and it's like, wow, this is just amazing visually. So you're fully immersed in the story, and he's making the entire world move together and blend into one cohesive thing, and it's just beautiful the way he does it. And he does it in Shaun of the Dead, he does it in Hot Fuzz, he does it in Scott Pilgrim a lot of times too. Like the way that he uses style to not necessarily only to tell the story, but sort of to make the story move and to make the audience stay engaged with it.
Yeah, very specifically in this movie.
Yeah, in this movie he does that. Like it's completely based around the music, which is amazing.
Yeah, they wrote to the soundtrack, and I have to say, there are other cases of this style over substance, air quotes, idea, but I feel like what really sets us apart is that the style, the visuals, the music, the feel of the movie, it's not just to, oh, here's a cool visual, we'll stick it in there, and does it really serve any purpose? No. It blends with the story, it serves a narrative purpose, the style, and it pushes the story forward, and it makes it work better than if this was just a regular story. It strengthens it, it doesn't detract from it saying, oh, well, that was cool, but everything else doesn't really work. The whole thing really comes together into a film that knows what it is and works as a whole with the great style serving the story.
Yeah, and like I said in a non-spoiler review, there's a lot of similarities between how they use music in this and how they use music in both Guardians of the Galaxy movie. The difference that I found here is that the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, it's used for character development, and it's also diegetic sound, which means sound that the characters, or at least one of the characters within the world, can hear. It's actually happening within the world. It's not just music that the filmmakers attach to the scene. But the way that they use it in this film, it's different from Guardians because, again, it moves through the story. It, controls how the story moves. With Guardians, it's a great style. It's great for character development, especially in the second one.
Because
the
second one, it really does.
It
show
captures
more about
emotions,
the
and it the characters themselves even address the music, like that first scene with Rocket. But in this, the music is very much addressed throughout the entire movie because it's really a part of who Baby is as a character.
Yeah, And I do love that we get to see who Baby is as a character, and I think we'll get into that when we talk about the performances and the actors a little bit, because
Yeah.
those were all great. But I just want to finish up on the music before we go into that. And yeah, this really, it pushes the story along. Like Baby says, it keeps moving, it keeps the story moving, and they're inseparable.
Mm-hmm.
Like even Guardians, you could have a great story if you removed that music, I feel like.
Yeah, technically you
the
could.
music adds to something. For this, it's a part of the structure. There's no way you could separate movie soundtrack.
Absolutely.
They are blended together more so than any other film I've ever seen, or at least can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, well, a great example for showing that is like the first scene of the movie, which I'd read the IGN review of the movie, or some of it before I'd seen it, and they were like, the first scene of the film is the best, because it shows Baby, it completely shows who Baby is as a character. He starts playing the song, he's having fun, and it shows how much he loves the music, and the music itself syncs up with every single beat inside of the scene. As the car is moving, all the sounds, even the gunshots, every single bit of it. And they do that throughout the entire movie, too. But I feel like that scene, they did it perfectly and they mastered it. And what you were saying, actually...
Well, the song is Bell Bottoms.
Yeah, Bell Bottoms.
By the John Spencer Blues Explosion. And, yeah, Edgar Wright had originally envisioned this movie around that song, and that he heard the song and he was like, wow, this song would be great for a heist, to choreograph a heist to, because... it has this 2-minute prelude to the song, and that's things getting started, and then the action goes down, and immediately then it builds up, and then you get into the escape scene with the car chase sequence that is so well done. The best car chase I can think of in any movie, certainly.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I really like the Italian Job with the Mini Coopers, but this one takes
the Italian
the cake.
Job is a great movie,
That's
too.
a fun movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, this movie just does something that no other movie has done with the music.
Yeah.
So
I also love how synced they are, the characters themselves with each other, because, they pull into that garage and they immediately know, okay, we're now getting into 2 separate cars and going to the same place.
Yeah.
That was great.
That gets into the whole idea of the heist movie, too, and there's a choreography to it that's really great. I feel like we don't get the heist movie as much anymore, because heists aren't really a thing that happen as much anymore in real life, and so everything's electronic now, and so we get a lot more of those kinds of movies with the idea of can you hack blah 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 blah. This was a great movie about robberies and heists, and that was really fresh in almost the way, I think you said something to this effect with Wonder Woman when you talked about it in one of your recent video essays, that it goes back to something that we haven't seen in a while, and that makes it fresh, that it's putting a new spin on something that's classic.
Exactly. They bring back an old element to it, and also add new elements to it that make it a new, fresh take on an old genre.
Exactly
the same thing. Yeah.
It's safe to say that no heist movie has ever been like this before.
No, never. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like you were saying before, I love the Italian Job. Nothing, not even close to this.
Yeah, and I love a good heist movie. And honestly, seeing this movie and how great it was, it makes me sad about Ant-Man, because one of my, I love comics, and one of my favorite characters other than Flash is Ant-Man. And so I was very excited, and one of my favorite actors is Paul Rudd. I was so excited for that movie, and don't get me wrong, I still really liked it, but to know what could have been if Edgar Wright had stayed on, how great it could have been with the heist element, and Ant-Man, how well he could have pulled that off, it really makes me sad for the movie we never got. Or that we kind of got, but we never will realize the full potential of.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it really goes into, with Edgar Wright, because this is almost like a blend of, sort of the style type of Guardians, and then, the heist elements of Ant-Man, and then all of just Edgar Wright's overall style with all of his movies. And it's a very different movie for him, too. We said this in the review before, too. It's very clear, it's a heist drama with comedy elements to it. It has levity, but it's not a comedy like his other films.
Yeah, and it's definitely not a comedy. There are funny moments, especially with Baby in the beginning, when we see him, pantomiming to the song, and when he's going to get coffee, that there and back again sequence was reminiscent of Shaun of the Dead, has 2 of those that play off each other really comedically, so that does have the elements in it, but it's definitely, the editing isn't used for jokes the way it is in the Cornetto trilogy. It's used for action, to make the action so visceral and awesome, frankly, kind of like in Scott Pilgrim, though I feel like Scott Pilgrim is more of a middle ground between the comedy and the action itself.
I think
with
so,
the way
too.
the editing is done.
Yeah,
And
I think it had to be because it was very much... It was an adaptation of a comic book that had those sort of enhanced fantasy elements to it.
Yeah, there's a lot of awesome stuff. And this movie just really... It showcases what else Edgar Wright can do, because it's not just he's not just a comedic guy. And I have to say, the ending of this movie, since we are getting into full spoilers here, the ending of this movie does not shy away from something that's heavy. Like, take the Shaun of the Dead ending, where they have... It does get heavy where they all think they're going to die, but then it comes back and it's a funny end because it is a comedy, and you have the fight sequence in the bar that's tuned to music, and that's funny, and then you have the future where they're together and you find out people use zombies to, like, push shopping carts and stuff. That's funny. This movie goes into a really real, almost sad, and then they pull it back up for a little rainbow at the end. Literally a rainbow at the end kind of ending. And I like that. I like that he chose to not shy away from something that was more realistic in this film, because I think it adds to it. It would have been really easy to have them ride off into the sunset, but I like that he pays penance for what he's done and then rides off into the sunset.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I think that Edgar Wright, honestly, has been moving more into that vein as the years have gone on. Because Shaun of the Dead was, 2006, something like that? Or,
I thought it was
no, it was before that. It's like 2003, 2004, something like that. But the thing is, you haven't seen The World's End, right?
Oh, I have.
Oh, you have seen The World's End. Okay, so then
times.
great. So I don't have to worry about spoiling the ending for you. So
Yeah.
spoilers for the ending of The
That
World's
gets
End.
heavy
Also,
as well.
that also gets really heavy because the world ends. Like, it's a very unexpected ending. The
You don't
entire
say.
world ends, and then they're all like living in the apocalypse. And
Yeah.
It's
And
not
it
exactly.
it is a more comedic take than this ending, but I do see what you mean in that
Very much,
there is a
but-
spectrum of, like, the levity of his endings is mixing more and more with real consequences,
It's
the
not
actions
as-
and the events of the movie.
Exactly. It's not as real as this movie, but it's more again, it's more about consequences, and it's more dramatic because it's not really a
Yeah.
it's a comedic ending in the way that
There's
like
still
Simon
jokes in
Pegg's
it.
character shows up at
Yeah,
the end,
he's-
and he's like doing he's like about to start with the bar fight,
Mhm.
but at the same time it's still a very dramatic ending where like the entire world's gone. They all think he's dead too, so there's that element to it also. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's all there is to say on... Well, I'm sure there's plenty more to say on that. And in comparison, I think... I do want to say how I feel about this movie in comparison to the others, but we'll get to that at the end for final thoughts.
Yeah.
Performances. Let's talk about that, because I think that, for me, there were a lot of not surprises in how great things were, and there were a couple surprises in how great some performances were.
Yeah, I agree, too. I want to start off actually talking about Ansel Elgort.
Yeah, so that's
we
what
both agree
surprised
on
me.
this. He's an amazing lead for what I've seen him in, like, from what I thought he was.
Mhm.
Like, because, I could tell from the trailer he was going to be an okay character. I wasn't sure he could carry his own movie, but he really did.
Yeah, so I was saying, the only thing I think I've really seen him in is The Fault in Our Stars, and he's good in that, but it's also... I didn't get the vibe that he would be able to carry not only his own movie, but carry an Edgar Wright movie, because there is so much style in this. I was afraid he was going to kind of get overshown, and he would just... outshone, I guess, and he would just be, just moving around throughout these great set pieces and kind of there. But he really makes the character his own. You really fall for this character who is... He's got a heaviness to him, but he also has this quirkiness and this fun side. The way he's, always moving to the music and stuff. That there and back again sequence, again, where he goes to get the coffee is so fun. He, leans up against the lamppost and is singing, almost gets hit by a car because he's listening to music.
He bumps into people.
He is, running into people and stuff.
And that actually goes into... He captures that perfect blend of simultaneously very smooth and very clumsy. And you can tell that when he's talking to the love interest, Deborah, Lily James's character.
Yeah.
Who's
also good, even though I will say that the weakest part of this film is that there's some underwriting with the development of the relationship between Baby and Deborah. And it's not... And it's still worth... I've heard a lot of people talk about this, but honestly, I didn't really feel it while I was watching the movie, because I was even kind of looking for it. And in retrospect... I do see where that people say that, but watching the movie, I did not feel it at all.
Well, no.
It's really only something you realize when you go back and think about it. She does a great job their relationship does feel real. They have good chemistry. They have great chemistry, and even though there's not that much time spent to it, you understand. I feel like there's enough understanding of what's going on.
Yeah,
that-
well,
yeah.
yeah, well, I initially thought the same thing as you did. As I was going through the movie, I'm starting to think, like, wait, like, he kills a guy, like, why is she going with him? Why does she
Yeah.
still want to be with him? But then what really got it for me was at the end, where they're doing his trial, and they have all the character witnesses, and it's all the people that he's kind of saved throughout the movie
Yeah,
that you
he's
think
the-
aren't going to be important. Edgar Wright brought that element back. He littered it throughout the movie. He brought the element back at the end, and it really showed who Baby was. And I could tell that, but all of it is really laid out for you plainly in front of us, and you understand why Lily James still loves him, because she can sense he is still a really good person. That's why he does go to prison, and there's real consequences to his actions, but he does get his parole
He gets
after
his parole
presumably
after
5 years.
Presumably, yeah. He's
Presumably
a good
after
inmate,
5
and he
years.
gets out.
So, and that's the thing that we were talking about with the ending too, was like how there's real consequences, but there's a good, it's still a happy ending.
Yeah, you can have consequences with the happy ending. You don't have to go one or the other, and I think it's very reminiscent of real life, which is ironic because this movie is so finely tuned in so many other aspects. It's a heightened reality.
Yeah.
But then in the end, he really pulls it back for something that, and I wouldn't have hated it if they rode off into the sunset. But I think that this really does something that I didn't expect, and it's great.
Yeah, and it definitely
It works so
shows.
well.
It definitely shows a lot about Baby's character when he gives himself up to the police too. Like, you think they're gonna ride off into the sunset and everything's
Yeah.
gonna be fine. And I would have been okay if the movie ended that way, but he stops the car, he takes out the key, and he gives himself up to the cops. He accepts the consequences for what he did, and then you go into the character witnesses, and the entire point of the movie is spelled out for you. He's a good person, and he was in a bad situation,
Yeah.
and it wasn't his fault.
But he still did those things.
He still did those things,
He still
so
pays
he-
his penance, but
Yeah, it goes into a lot of what they talk about. Like, it goes into a theme very similar to Captain America: Civil War, where the Winter Soldier is like, yeah, that
but I
wasn't
still
my
did-
fault, but I
yeah,
did it.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's the same theme, and it works. I think honestly, in a lot of ways, it works better in this movie.
Oh, certainly. It's this movie it works well on so many levels.
Yeah.
All the story choices, and I think it really, when it ends perfectly on the best note I think it could have.
Yeah, definitely. Okay.
Speaking of note, that soundtrack.
Music. Yes. Note music. Note equals music.
It's a what's the word? Pun. It's a pun.
Yeah.
So, what was your favorite song, Angel?
I don't know.
Favorite song in the movie, the way they used it.
In the movie, the way they used it, I'm trying to think. I'm not entirely sure. I can't remember the song titles so much as the sequences that they were used
Well,
in. So
what
I think I'm going to
sequence?
go based on that way. I think probably the opening scene. The opening
scene is hard to
is
beat.
perfectly choreographed to the song. Every beat in the song is a beat in the movie. The shotguns line up with it, the way that they yell, the way that the car moves, every traffic sound, and the only other sequence that might have gotten it for me, that might have beat that one for me, is the sequence right after that, because I think they do the syncing up better.
yeah.
Where he's walking through the street,
to get
and it's
that
like,
there and backing him with the coffee.
exactly, the
Those
people
were going to
yelling.
be my top two choices as well.
Exactly. The people yelling down from the apartment, or like yelling up at the apartment, the people passing by on the street, the people talking on the phone, like all the people he passes by, the sounds of the traffic. I think that the first scene was more exciting, but the second scene, it really lays out for you how perfectly choreographed this movie is
Yeah.
to the music.
Yeah, it shows that opening sequence isn't going to be a one-time thing. It's going to be great.
It's going to be the entire movie, basically. Yeah, the Sunday morning part is really good, too. The part where he's crushing up the car.
Yeah,
That
is
one's really good.
And you find out the weight that song has to him later on.
Mhm,
And there
yeah.
was the other one I really like is because I feel like this was so creative when he does the first heist with Bats, Jamie Foxx, who did a great
The one with Soldier Boy?
where
Not the song. There's a character that they call Soldier Boy in the
yeah.
movie, just to spell that out.
but where they go out to do the heist and then there's the whole joke about you got the wrong masks. It's supposed to be the Halloween masks. These are Halloween
yeah.
masks. No, the mask from
This is a
Halloween
Halloween
Killer.
mask.
Yeah, and then he's like, wait, I gotta start the song over. And he reads go. I wish I remember which song that was actually.
I
Because,
cannot remember now what song that was.
It was so funny.
It was so
when
well
they,
done.
when they did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great moment as well. So yeah, and performances I just mentioned. Jamie Foxx was great.
Yeah, Jamie Foxx was great, and we knew he was going to be great.
Yeah, he's having
Jamie
a lot of
Foxx.
fun.
Yeah, he's
having a
good
lot
in
of
movies
fun.
like this. Like he was in the Horrible Bosses movies,
Yeah.
and you can tell he has a lot of fun in those movies.
Yeah, he's having
and
so
it's
much
the same
fun.
element here.
Everyone's having so much fun. Kevin Spacey, I really loved.
Kevin Spacey's
he's
perfect
Kevin
for the role that
Spaceying
he's
it up
in.
all over the place.
Yeah,
and it's great.
yeah. It's like almost a nicer version of Frank Underwood from House of Cards.
Yeah.
Like where he actually he really does
He does
care about
weirdly
Baby to
care,
a certain extent.
But he thinks he does in like a regular way, but also you can tell like he's kind of a messed up person, and so what he thinks is caring is not actually that caring.
Mm-hmm.
But he does kind of come back in the end and have that moment, and you realize, this isn't such a bad guy. There's lots of shades of gray, except for Bats, who's kind of an ass.
Yeah, but it's also actually no. I feel like there's still some gray there.
Oh, certainly.
Just little bits of it. As I mentioned this in the spoiler-free review too, and I want to expand more on this now, where they litter little bits of their backstory of each of the major characters throughout the movie. Right? They do that with Jamie Foxx. There's one part where they jack that lady's car, and she's like, "I have a child," and he's like, "So do I." So you can tell he has somebody in his life that he cares about.
Yeah.
Then you hear him talk multiple times about how when he's stealing, he's kind of stealing from the man. Like he's taking back what the higher ups have taken from him. So you get the sense that he's been wronged in some way because he was in like a more working class area of society before. So you get the sense like that's why he was doing this. So he's not a complete ass. He has reasons for doing what he does. It's just the way that he kind of, this is going to sound weird, but the way that he executes his attitude towards other people, he's trying very hard to be tough, and it's working, and in a lot of ways he's crazy, but I do sympathize with his character to a certain extent.
Yeah, I think all the characters do have layers to them. There's also John Hamm's character.
John
with
Hamm's
his buddy.
character. That was my Buddy. That was
Yeah,
the most
Buddy's good.
surprising performance I thought in this movie because
And I liked
haven't.
the twist at the end where he ended up, because you kind of imagine that Bats is going to be the main antagonist, and then
Yeah.
he ends up being the one who's kind of hunting Baby down in the end because Baby is partially responsible for the death of Darling, and I think that was a great twist. Is maybe too strong a word, but a great direction that movie took.
Yeah, it wasn't really a twist. It was more like a subversion
Yeah.
of expectations in some
Yeah.
ways, but not exactly a twist. What I like about that, and there some people could
Just an
say,
interesting direction.
some people could say that they'd seen that coming because of the way that the trailers were dropped. Because that line where he's asking Baby if Baby loves Deborah, and like, is she a good girl? You love her? And he's like, yeah. He's like, that's too bad. That line was in a lot of the trailers, so I could tell immediately. Okay, at some point, John Hamm is going to be a problem. But that's why when I think about movies, I think about marketing as a separate entity, because you got to think, marketing didn't used to be the same. So from a movie standpoint, Edgar Wright, when he wrote this movie, he executed that part of it perfectly, no matter what. So even if you saw it coming, it was just because of the marketing. The way it was executed in the movie was absolutely perfect.
In some ways I do feel like, as awesome as trailers are getting, I do feel like a part of me wishes I could go into a movie having never seen the trailer and I have no idea what I'm gonna get. Yeah, this movie, it has a great story, really.
Yeah. Well, actually, since we're talking about John Hamm's character, though, I like his like Bonnie and Clyde relationship with Darling too.
Darling,
that was really good.
They do have a really interesting character, and you do get backstory on them, and it's weird because like these are definitely hardened, screwed up people, but they do love each other. They do love each other
in a really twisted way.
In their way.
Yeah, in their way. And actually, for them, like John Hamm at the beginning when he's interacting with Baby, he's like listening to music with him. He seems like he's actually a good guy.
Yeah, well, he does seem to
and
like.
He only
I don't
loses
care
it
about
when
is a strong word, but he does definitely like Baby.
He does like him, yeah, in a way that the other characters like Kevin Spacey's character does too in a lot of ways. But he's got a history with him. This is a character, John Hamm, that has just met Baby and has only done one job with him before the main job of the film.
Yeah, presumably, yeah.
Yeah, presumably. And well, I think it is definitely because Kevin Spacey said he never works with a crew more than once.
Yeah.
And then you could tell when Baby walks into the room and Jamie Foxx is there, and so are John Hamm and Darling's character, who also had a really great performance in the way she bounced off the other characters, and in the way she just interacted with everybody. Yeah, and it was great because you could tell he was surprised. So they didn't ignore that element to it either. But like you can going back to John Hamm, you can tell he like is like actually a pretty decent guy. So all these characters are really complex.
Mm-hmm.
And
Without it, like you never derail the plot to go into that. There's enough that it,
like you don't need to
works.
spell out Jamie Foxx's
Yeah.
character. Like those little things that I mentioned, you can pick up a lot about him just from that.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's a testament to how great of a writer Edgar Wright is to be able to do an ensemble film where you learn so much about the characters.
Mm-hmm. He really does excel at writing and directing in a field where it's hard for, I feel like, not a lot of people do both.
Not a lot of
well.
people do both. No.
I mean, there are a decent amount who do both, but not even like super well necessarily.
Not always, but
I mean, Edgar Wright has basically a spotless track record.
In my I agree.
All of his movies have been great, and even Ant-Man, that he's partially responsible for, is still pretty good. And I'd say it's probably the weakest of, if you're counting the Cornetto, of his now 6 films, the Cornetto trilogy, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, Baby Driver, and if
however
you
much
Ant-Man is
he
the
did.
6th,
Yeah.
then I think even though it's the weakest of those, I still think that it's great, and he's basically has a spotless record.
Yeah.
That's damn rare to come across.
Yeah,
in
especially
Hollywood.
as a writer and
Even
director.
great,
That's why
even Spielberg has bad
Spielberg.
movies.
Yeah. See, but
no one's perfect, and I think he really puts so much care into it too.
Mm-hmm.
He's not swept up in a lot of other facets that even people who do care about their properties sometimes are. He's really focused on this.
Yeah. Part of that though is how much time and like energy he devotes to each project, because you got to think his projects come out years apart. There are some directors that direct, like there's not a lot of people that do both writing and directing, but there's writers that write a couple of films a year. There's directors that direct a couple of films every year. Like they finish one film, they immediately go to direct another. But because he's developing his entire every aspect of his film, he develops the story with the treatment he does, the script, he does the directing. So he's there filming, he does all the on-set work too. He spends so much time developing and fully making sure each project is exactly what he envisioned, and like letting it evolve naturally as he goes through the process, that you could tell he really cares. He's one of those filmmakers that really, really loves what he does.
Certainly, yeah. And honestly, I know it's a lot to ask from him, and I feel bad because we just got this great movie, but what are you doing next?
Yeah, when's the next
when
one?
Is the next one?
I agree. I want to know what his next project is going to be, and like, can I help?
Yeah.
Because
what do you want to see him do? Like, what do you want to see next from Edgar Wright? He's conquered the video game movie, he's conquered the heist movie, he's done zombies, he's done the cop
police comedy,
the buddy cop movie, and he's done whatever the hell World's End is.
Well, the World's End is like kind of like a Friends from College-esque idea, like when you're all grown up, like sort of like a midlife crisis movie.
It is,
and it's great.
And it's also
amazing.
an alien movie.
And it's also an alien movie.
So what do you want to see next?
I don't know, because I feel like what's so great about Edgar Wright is that you never know what you're going to get next with him. And when he announces his next project, it's like, I never would have thought this would happen.
Yeah.
But it's still, at the same time, completely perfect for him. So honestly, I don't know what I want to see him do next. I want him to surprise me just like he has with his last few projects.
Seriously. I mean, obviously the correct answer is whatever he wants to do. Should be what he does next.
Yeah. There is one thing I will say. I like him doing his own ideas. I don't necessarily want him to go into more mainstream Hollywood blockbuster movies. Like Ant-Man would have been great with him.
Ant-Man could have been great, but
at the same time, I don't want to see him doing a different Marvel movie. I don't want to see him doing another superhero movie.
Like at this point, I don't want him to go back to the Ant-Man.
I don't want him to do another franchise. Like I don't want them to say, "Hey, you want to do like the next Indiana Jones?" Let's say. No, I don't want to see that. I want to see him do whatever ideas he has. He has his own bubble, and his bubble works.
What I do think would be really cool from him is maybe a horror movie. I'm not that into horror, but to think about what he can do with like action and how sharp his editing is,
the choreography
that he
has,
transitions. I feel like he could make. And Shaun of the Dead does have some scares, but I wouldn't really call it a horror as much as a subversion of the zombie trend. So I would like to see him do maybe a horror comedy. I feel like could be like a movie that's legitimately scary but also has a lot of laughs. I feel like if anyone could
like
pull
a horror movie with levity, like how this movie was a drama movie with levity,
like,
not exactly a comedy.
A heavy heist movie with some levity in it.
I agree.
do think that's like if anyone could pull it off, it's him.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that would be really cool. That's a horror movie I would watch.
Yeah, I think honestly
like Cabin in the Woods style.
Cabin in the Woods
That's
style.
a scary movie
Yes.
that subverts the trope and it's funny. I feel like if he could do that kind of movie better than anyone else in the world, maybe.
Yeah,
So-
probably. Yeah, I honestly, I think, like, going off of that, I think that basically he's great at comedies, but I think other genres, tackle as many genres as he can. Like, he's done sci-fi in comedy. Maybe do like a dramatic sci-fi movie where he
Yeah.
shows his style in, where he blends style and substance together into that one cohesive moving thing that I was talking about. But
Yeah.
do it with like a dramatic epic sci-fi movie. That could be really cool.
Seriously. Yeah, so, long story short, if you're ready to wrap up,
Yeah.
because I think I've said everything I pretty much want to say.
Yeah, me too. I just yeah.
I think I just want to say, see this movie, see it again,
Tell
all your friends to see it again.
see it in 3D, see it in RPX, see it in
I
IMAX.
want to see it in RPX because I feel like the
Find a way-
music and the visuals in this would be really great.
Find a way to holographically project yourself into the movie and do it that way if you can, because it's such a good film. And
Ready Player One style,
Ready Player One style.
where you have
Like,
to be in them, but that would be awesome.
I
But
think this movie is gonna hold up for years to come.
this movie, I'm gonna be the first one to buy the Blu-ray when this movie comes out.
Absolutely.
Oh
yeah.
man, this is a amazing movie. Yeah, see it. Make sure this movie does well because Edgar Wright's movies, they're always critically acclaimed. They don't always do great at the box office. I think this one's it's projecting to do pretty well from what I can tell.
Yeah.
But make sure it does. Go see this movie with your friends and your family and strangers on the street as many times as you humanly
See
can.
it at least 2 or
because
3 times.
I bet I've only seen it once because it just came out, but I bet that there's gonna be a lot more to unpack after the second and third viewings.
Exactly.
All right,
Yeah.
so that about wraps it up. Check out the rest of our channel. Like, subscribe. We're new, so anything that you want to comment, any ideas you have, things you might want to see in the future, let us know. We're interested in knowing what you guys think about this movie and about anything else that's going on. So, in the meantime, I'm Austin,
And I'm Angel.
and we are Serenity Cinema, and we will see you next time.